Today, we're going to start developing talkers. Now, normally you guys read these books with Mrs. Serpa, but she is busy with her new baby. So I get the honor of doing developing talkers with you guys this week. So you guys read Happy Birthday Moon before we left for spring break. So we're going to keep talking about the moon, but this week's book is an informational book. Now, do you remember who likes informational books? Is it Scout or is it Luce? It's Luce. That's right. She likes informational books. And remember, when we read informational books, there isn't an illustrator because we have real pictures of real things. So this book, The Moon, is written by Thomas Adamson. And we're going to learn some wondrous words today. We have two wondrous words that we're going to learn about. The first one is object. Can you say object? Object. So the word object is something that you can see and touch, but it isn't alive. So look at this sink. It's full of all sorts of things that you use in the kitchen, like pots, forks, and plates. So imagine you've just finished eating breakfast. You're going to wash the dishes, right? Because you're helping with dishes. You're going to say, I'll put these objects away. Why don't you practice? I'll put these objects away. Good. So object is also a cognate. Now, I don't know if you guys have talked about cognates with Mrs. Serpa, but that means that the word sounds the same in another language. So in Spanish, the word object is objeto. Objeto. Object. All right, so that's our first wondrous word of the day. Our second wondrous word is surface. Can you say surface? Good. Surface. The surface is the top part or outer part of something. The grass in this picture is growing on the earth's surface. So imagine you're mowing the yard. Say, grass grows on the surface. Or maybe instead of mowing the yard, maybe just imagine that you're walking through the yard. And you can say, this grass grows on the surface. Good. So object and surface. Remember, when we're reading it, if you hear it, touch your nose. All right, the moon. And while we're reading this book, I want you to think about something because you're going to discuss it with your grown-up helper after we're done. I want you to think, what is the moon like? What is it like? The moon. The moon is the brightest object in the night sky. It reflects the sun's light. The moon is the brightest object we can see at night. That's right. An object is something you can see and touch, but it's not alive. So the moon is not alive. And if we were close enough to it, we could touch it. The moon seems to change shape during the month. The moon can look round like a circle. It can also look narrow like a banana. We also call that a toenail clipping. Looks like a fingernail or a toenail clipping. The moon and the earth. The moon is Earth's satellite. It moves around Earth once each month. The same side of the moon always faces the earth. So look at this diagram. It shows how the moon goes around the earth. So we're going to practice, okay? Let's act it out. You're going to hold up one hand and pretend it's Earth. And you're going to hold up another hand and pretend it's the moon, right? And you are going to make the moon go around the Earth. Can you act it out? Got my Earth hand and my moon hand. Very good. The moon shines brightly at night. It looks lighter during the day. The moon is much smaller than Earth. If Earth were a tennis ball, the moon would be the size of a marble. The moon's surface. Gray dust and rocks cover the moon. The moon's surface is rough. Look at this photograph. It shows us the surface of the moon. The surface. is the top part or the outer part of something. How does the moon's surface look to you? Another question would be is when you look at the moon from your front yard or your backyard, does it look like this? Maybe not. This picture shows us a lot of detail in the moon. Craters make the moon's surface bumpy. These holes formed when objects hit the moon. There's that word again. Objects hit the moon. The moon is not like Earth. The moon has no air or water, and the sky is always black. Astronauts have landed on the moon 6 times. They gathered rocks and soil to study. Look, there's an astronaut right there in his spaceman suit. So what an interesting photograph. This is an interesting photograph. Let's look at it. It makes me ask myself a question. I'm wondering how the astronaut feels. How do you think he feels up there on the moon? Does it make you wonder? Do you wonder anything else about this picture? I think the astronaut might feel excited, maybe a little nervous, maybe. All right, so we've just read our book, The Moon. Remember that question I wanted you to think about? What is the moon like? What is it like? What is it like with its objects and its surface? I want you to talk about that with your grown-up helper, and maybe if you are really lucky, you might get to go see the moon tonight. Fingers crossed.